I'm Idiotech, and this is my review of Unravel for PC. So Unravel is a physics-based puzzle platformer. If you don't like physics-based puzzle platformers, you can turn this video off now because you probably won't like Unravel. However, if you do like those games, Unravel is quite satisfying to play. It does have issues, I am going to get into those. I'm going to talk about the good things and the bad things. But just to give you an overall picture of how the game works. Essentially, as I said, it's a puzzle-based physics platformer. You play as Yanni, he's a little character made of yarn. As you progress through the level, you start to unravel, hence the name of the game. Now, in order to prevent this from happening and continue on in the level, you have to reach checkpoints. These checkpoints will replenish your yarn and allow you to continue moving forward. Now, he navigates the world by jumping. He can also create lassos, knots, bridges, and trampolines with his body, which I thought was kind of unique and interesting. He can also move and drag objects which are required to solve many of the game's physics-based puzzles. While it's not the most original idea in terms of its gameplay, it is one of the most beautiful games I have seen in recent memory, and it is very engaging. That's the basic overview. Now, what I want to do is I want to get into the good, I want to talk about the bad, and then I want to give you my overall conclusion and tell you whether or not you should pick up this game. So let's talk about the good things first, and the most notable one is the presentation. The art style in this game is amazing. The only other game that has this fantastical look to it that I can think of in recent memory was Trine, and this game blows that out of the water in terms of production values. If you just want to go and exist in a nice world, at least for the first half of the game, then you have to pick up this title for that. It's seriously one of the best looking games I've ever seen, and the attention to detail on things like rocks and wood textures and mushrooms and just everything like paint peeling off the skirting boards in the house. It is such a fantastic looking game with a huge amount of attention paid to the detail in the various scenes, and there's lots of variety here in terms of environments. It's not just nice meadows and fields and flowers, there's also some quite dark and depressing stuff as you get into the later portion of the game. Now, the music is also a very, very good thing about this game. It's mostly orchestral, lots of strings, lots of guitars, and it has a Celtic overtone to most of it, but it fits beautifully with the world, and it changes depending on the setting. So if it's a dark and moody setting, the music fits that. It does a great job. I would love to pick up this soundtrack. Another very, very good thing about this game is the character design itself. Yanni is a very likable and lovable character. You will find yourself saying "ah" at multiple points during this game. He expresses himself wonderfully. He'll shiver when he's cold. He'll shake himself when he's wet to get dry. He expresses emotion constantly throughout this game, and I can't help but love the character as a result. Now, the gameplay is also very good. It's solid. It does what every puzzle platformer does. The addition is that, we have the wool mechanic or the yarn mechanic. We can lasso onto things. We can build trampolines. We can tie knots and push things over bridges. I found it engaging for the most part. I didn't find the mechanics frustrating, and they certainly didn't outstay their welcome. Some of the puzzles, however, do have some problems, and I will talk about that, but the core mechanics here and the core gameplay loop is very satisfying and very enjoyable. While not the most original thing in the world, it certainly is well handled and well executed here. Now let's talk about the bad things. The primary issue with this game is the frustration that it brings to the player. Now, it's a very peaceful game, it's got lots of emotion, lots of heartfelt things in it, and when I'm feeling pissed off, that stuff kind of goes over my head because I'm kind of frustrated with the puzzle I'm trying to solve. So the game doesn't gel particularly well with what it's trying to get across in its story and its art style and its music, when you're really, really frustrated at a puzzle that just doesn't make sense to you. Now, a lot of the times it wasn't necessarily that the puzzle was particularly difficult. In fact, I often found myself overthinking a lot of the puzzles, thinking they were a lot more complicated than they actually were, and then realizing, oh no, I just had to jump across that gap or climb up there, and it was really, really easy to solve. I had that happen more than once, and there were many times I got stuck on puzzles for upwards of 20 minutes, and you will often find yourself repeating sections over and over and over again. The game relies very heavily on trial and error. It feels very much like Limbo in that respect. Limbo was a game that relied heavily on trial and error, and so does Unravel. And this doesn't gel well with its theme. Whereas Limbo was a dark, oppressing, miserable game, and it made sense to constantly die, Unravel not so much. It's more of a heartfelt experience, and it doesn't gel well with frustration, and it kind of makes you stop paying attention to the story and the theme, and pay more attention to the fact that you're quite annoyed right now. So you will experience points of frustration when playing this game. Some puzzles may not appear particularly easy to solve at first. You may get stuck. If you find that stuff frustrating or off-putting, then you may want to avoid this title. Another negative with this game, unfortunately, is its storytelling. It's quite vague. The way it works is you're basically told the story of an old lady and what happened in her life, and this is presented to you through a picture book, and as you complete each level, you unlock more and more pictures in the picture book. This is quite vague, if I'm honest, and while the game does sort of express some vague messages about family and bonds and the ties we make between people and our attachments to objects and events in our lives, it doesn't really have any emotional weight to it when you complete the game, and I felt the ending was a little anticlimactic. I felt they were trying to put something across here that was supposed to be very weighty and emotional, and it just didn't resonate with me for whatever reason. I found the story kind of underwhelming, and it took a backseat to the gameplay, which I thought was a shame, because I thought with the presentation and the art style and the music, a really good story would have made this one of the best games to come out in 2016. Sadly though, it doesn't manage to pull that off, and as a result, the game does lose some marks in my book. So, what is my conclusion on Unravel? I think it's a wonderful puzzle platformer. If you like puzzle platformers, it's a must-buy in my opinion. It doesn't quite deliver on story, and that is a big letdown, and I found that kind of disappointing personally. However, the character design, the music, the art style, and the core gameplay loop are very enjoyable, if not fantastic, and so if you do like this genre, I strongly urge you to pick it up. However, if you're not a puzzle platformer guy, this isn't going to change your mind. If you found this video helpful or useful in some way, please let me know in the comments below. If you've played the game and have a different opinion to me, please let me know also. And if you want to support the channel, please like, favorite, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.